I got these animals a sack of cubes this morning because, well, it's supposed to rain a little bit throughout the whole day. By the end of it all, I'm supposed to have gotten about 0.75 inches of rain. And when it rains, okay, so when these cattle eat wet grass, they tend to get diarrhea. And so I gave them a sack of cubes this morning so that they get some dry food in their stomach, and that will help them not have diarrhea. But I still got cubes that I bought back on Thanksgiving. I purchased like 10 or 20 sacks of cubes. I bought like $200 worth of cubes on Black Friday to give to these animals, and I still got several bags left. And so here right when these animals are done eating, I'm gonna put them out on the back. But okay, so okay, so I figured, I would talk about something, a kind of a reality of being a businessman, right? Because the reality of being a businessman, the reality of being a business owner is that, there are a lot of times when a business owner can work as much as, they can work 100 hours a week and they still end up losing money, right? That's one of the hard, I think that, people need to understand is that, being a business owner is not like a one-way ticket to being rich. There are a lot of business owners who start a business and end up losing all their money, or they barely make enough to make a living, right? And so, and in all honesty, like if it was me, if I was going to barely make enough to make a living, I would rather just go work a job. Because if I go, not just a job, like if I would go and buy something, I would go and do something for like commission. If I was barely making a living, I would go and I would work for a commission. If that meant that I would, go and buy a route, or something, I would rather work for a commission than own a business that barely makes me a living. Because if I got that commission, I can buy myself a house, I could write off the interest on my first mortgage, I could just open up a Roth IRA, and I don't have to worry about being a businessman, because being a businessman takes up a lot of time. I have to sit there and I have to go through my numbers every day. I have to look at my business every day. I work 7 days a week. And so that's just me. If I was going to own a business that barely made me a living, I would rather just go work for commission. But one of the realities of being a businessman is that my business is not guaranteed to make money. Like if I went to work, right, and I worked for an hourly pay, if I went and I worked for 40 hours, I would get paid for 40 hours. But in business, there are a lot of times where business people, they'll work 40 hours and they'll still go bankrupt. They'll go negative. They will lose money. And so I know I make a lot of estimates. I make all these plans for, if I buy the animals at this weight, if I buy a number 1 to 1.5, if I buy a number 1 to 1.5 medium frame animal for the top of the market price, and I sell the animal a medium large frame grown to commercial standards at 8 weight, and the feeder cattle market is this price, I'll probably get about this. I know I make a lot of estimates, right? But I always say plans are not for perfection, they're for direction. They're to give me a direction. So the direction is I am looking to bring in number 1 to 1.5 medium large frame animals at roughly somewhere between middle to top of the market price. And when I sell them at 800, when I sell them at 8 weight as a feeder animal, the animal will have been raised to commercial standards and will be a number 1 to 1.5 medium large frame animal. That is essentially, when I take the numbers away, that is the broad idea of my business without numbers. And so like when I come up with my plans, I only really stick numbers to the plans because it's to give me an estimate of my earnings. You know, if I bring in a medium large frame animal and I bring them in at 2.5 and I pay about roughly top of the market price, you know, what am I gonna pay, right? And if I sell that animal, you know, at 800 pounds, and it takes me 5 months to get them from 250 to 800, it's gonna take me more than 5. Maybe it take me you know, and with these sale barn cattle particularly, they are harder to turn around. And so, you know, I may, you know, but there are things that I can fiddle fart with in terms of the numbers. Like, instead of taking them to 800, I could take them to 650, and I could take them to 650, and I can increase the size of my herd, right? Like, at the end of the day, you know, like if I have 40 animals that weigh 800 pounds, that's 32,000 pounds of cattle. But, you know, if I have like 50, let's say I have 53 animals, right? I have 53 animals that weigh 650 or 600 pounds. That's still 32,000 pounds of cattle. And when I feed these animals, I feed them a percentile of their body weight. So when I like go and I make a a diet plan for these animals, I make the diet plan as a percentage of their total body weight. And so it doesn't matter if I'm going to raise 53 animals at 60 pounds or 600 pounds, or if I'm going to raise 40 animals at 800 pounds. It doesn't matter to me in terms of the way that, and that's also what I mean, that plans are not made for perfection. They're made for direction. Is that it's just to give me a direction to head. You know, I'm going to go this way. You know, and that's about all the plans are made for. And so, you know, and as long as I understand my numbers, I can fiddle fart with the numbers. Instead of running 48 weight cattle, I can run 56 and a half or six. I can run 56 weight cattle. Oh, well, if I'm going to stagger out my animals to 5 animals every 2 weeks, that means a majority of my herd is going to be larger than the other part of my herd. And so when the animals are, maybe I could, you know, I can fiddle fart with the numbers, right? Oh, if I think half of my herd is 800 and half of my herd is 400, so that's 600. You know, I can maybe I can increase the cattle population on my field by about 10 animals, right? And so I can fiddle fart with the numbers, and I understand that the numbers are dynamic and the numbers are not guaranteed. The only reason I really put the numbers to the you know, the whole point of a business plan is to give my business a direction. And the reason for me to run my business is to make money, right? I mean, I'm not here to feel good, and I'm not here to look pretty. You know, I'm here to make money. And so, you know, like if my business did not make money, I would not be doing things to this extent, right? I would not be out here, you know, I would not be out here doing this to this extent. I mean, if it did not make money, I would rather just go and do something else, and I could run a few cattle a year, right? And I could have a few cattle in my backyard, and I could just raise them as my pets, and I could just call it a day. You know, if I wasn't gonna make money, I would rather do that. And so, you know, yeah, but I mean, you know, but the thing about business, okay, so I remember thinking about this yesterday, but, you know, the idea of giving it, you know, why don't we just take money away from America's biggest businesses, and why don't we just take the money away from them and give it to the poor people, right? Why don't we just give everybody a check for $100,000 right now? Why don't we do that, right? And the reason, okay, so the reason, and this will all tie back to my business. And the reason why we don't do that is because these people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, or these big investment firms like Berkshire Hathaway, you know, these big companies, they don't just have cash, right? They don't just have cash. They have businesses that are worth money. So they have businesses that are worth money. And so if like these rich people were to give all the poor people money, they would have to sell their business to get the money, and then they could give the money to the poor people. And so imagine, you know, and this is a good way to put things in perspective. But usually the more poor a country is, usually the worse quality of living that people have. There's more infant death, more babies die. You know, there's more starvation. there's a less quality of life. So the more poor that it, more more often than not, the more poor a country is, the worse the quality of life is for people. And there are several countries out there, and there are even more, throughout history, where the people in the I got to go to work early this morning, but when I get back, I'm gonna have to give this animal a shot. I think, I don't know if maybe the animal's choking on a kernel of corn, but she coughing. But there are like if like this idea that everyone should get $1 million. Okay, so there are countries out there right now where the average person does have $1 million, right? I'm pretty sure Zimbabwe. Like if somebody wants to really see what it looks like when a country has everybody has $1 million, go to get yourself a plane ticket to Zimbabwe, or get yourself a plane ticket to like I think what was the country? I know it's like either it's like Argentina or something like that. There's a country with real bad inflation, and the concept that people need to understand is that when everybody has money, the money's not worth anything. And so it is better to live, I personally think America is the greatest country in the world, and I would not, I would not leave this country for anything. I mean, I would not. I mean, because America, the thing about America is that it is like literally a gold mine for small business owners. In America, if I want to work and I want to make a better living and I want to make a better life for myself, I'm allowed to do it, right? It's not like communism. Like, I don't have to go and ask the government. It's not like the money here's worth nothing. If I make money, if I work hard and I make money, my money is worth something. And I have the opportunity to better myself. And here's the thing about, I think that a lot of people, but the way that this whole concept ties back to my business is that, I understand that money is not guaranteed, right? And that these estimates, they are just estimates to give me direction. And so the way to make up for that is to just hold on to the money. So if I make and so big companies do this too. If I make, let's say I make $150,000, well, I should just hold on to $120,000. Don't spend, because it doesn't, if I make $10 million, but I spend $10 million, I have $0. If I make $150,000 and I just hold on to $120,000 and I live on 30, I can still, that money that I have sitting in my account can do things like further my business and give me a margin of a buffer between being, having money and essentially just having wrecked myself financially. That money gives me a buffer. And so that's why companies hold on to large sums of capital. Like me, in my business, if I made $150,000, my goal would be to keep $120,000. So if my goal was to keep $120,000, that means I can live on 30. But for me to keep the 120, I can't just keep it in cash, because if I just hold on to it in cash, the government will tax it. And so now I'm in a situation where it's like, okay, let me go through the list of my investments, right? What can I put capital in that will hold my capital while also appreciating? And so, if I want to hold on to money, I can't just hold on to cash. And I should have as much cash reserves as I can possibly have, right? And the way, and so it's kind of a balancing act, because it's like, okay, I invest into cattle. Let's say I'm at the beginning of my tax year, right? And so I just got done paying my taxes. I walk out of the CPA office and I go, okay, I just got done paying my taxes. I have, and I go to my farm and I say, okay, I have $60,000 worth of cattle ready to be sold right now, and that I don't have to pay taxes on for the next year. So I'm going to go and sell these animals, right? I'm going to go and sell these animals. I'm going to take the $60,000. I'm going to hold on to the $60,000 and I'm going to invest that slowly throughout the next 6 months, right? And in 6 months, I should have another $60,000 because I have another half of my animals ready to go to the market. And so I take the $60,000, I invest it slowly throughout the year, and then right when it gets, and then let's say instead of making $120,000 that year, I made $250,000. And so it starts getting to be about that time where I'm starting to have to get ready to pay taxes. And I look at my cattle and I say, okay, my investment is sound right now. My cattle are healthy. They're all relatively ready for the market. I got a lot of animals ready for the market. I can sell these animals and turn them into cash tomorrow if need be, right? Tomorrow if need be, I can turn these animals into cash, and I got to get ready to pay taxes. And so I'm not going to sell these animals right now, because if I sold these animals right now, I'm going to have to pay taxes on them next week or tomorrow or whatever, right? And so, and then I look at my bank statement and I say, okay, but I'm still sitting on about $75,000 worth of cash, right? And so what I can do at that point is I can buy equipment, which is I don't like buying equipment, but I can buy equipment, or I can buy more cattle. I can buy $75,000 worth of cattle and just not worry about paying taxes. Next week, I could pay my tax. I could go and file my taxes, and then after I filed my taxes, I can sell my cattle and make the money back. And so it's kind of a balancing act between a lot of different things to run a business. It's not just a straightforward thing. There's a lot that goes onto it, And so, I mean, it's a multi, but that's why businesses hold on to their money, is because the business, like if I'm running a business, right, and I'm running let's say a multi-trillion-dollar company, the things that I am looking to accomplish might require $100 billion. I may need to invest $200 billion to get something done for my company. And so in these situations, like when there's like a $2 trillion company, that's why they hold on to so much money. I mean, it's very naive, right? It's very naive, and it's kind of like a la la land thing. Why don't they just give their money away? It's because if they gave their money away, these companies would all go under. They would all go under, and then the society, as we know, everybody would become dirt poor, and everybody would not become rich. Everybody would at the same time become dirt poor. And in a lot of these countries where either there's hyperinflation, where everybody has too much money and the capital's not worth anything, in these countries, and also in countries where they're just like communist countries, like where most people are very poor, the quality of life tends to be very low. Babies die. A lot of people are starving. Homes, live in a log cabin, right? I mean, stuff like that. Literally, I mean, farmers in poor countries don't even have tractors to this day. They're still pulling plows with cattle. And so, it's not a good thing. But that is why, these big companies hold on to so much money, is because if they run these businesses, they may need the capital. They may realistically need the capital. If I got a $2 trillion business and I got $200 billion in the bank account, I mean, that's not, for me to operate my business, I may actually need the $200 billion. And so I think that's going to be something that, but America is the golden land for small business. It is easier to turn $1,000 into $5,000 than it is to turn $5,000 into $25,000. It is easier to turn $5,000 or $25,000. It's easier to turn $5,000 into $25,000 than it is to turn $25,000 into $125,000. It's not like oh my God, if I had $10 million, I could go and do all this. But realistically, a lot of people, if they had the money, they wouldn't even consider working again. They would just stop working. I mean, most people would. I mean, but working to make the money is a good thing. I'm gonna let these animals out onto the back. But that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.